Hi, Muchísimo Eugene. Welcome to another video from Exit Strategy. Please like, subscribe, share, give a thumbs up for this video if you found it helpful. Pass it on if you believe someone else will benefit from it. I do appreciate that. You know, when the narcissist has to pay up their debt, there is a lot of interest that they've accrued. All through life, before you met them, they have piled up a debt that will be collected. You know, in the normal life we live, we know about debt, we know about interest, we know about retribution, we know about consequence, we know about, like I said, interest. Those are things that are penalties for choices that we either make or don't make or neglect to be responsible about. And those are a lot of times they're laws that govern whether we like them or not. They are in place. So it brings about a sense of harmony in community, sense of harmony in our world. If we didn't have certain laws, unfortunately, we would probably do things on sight to people that would not cause them to exist anymore, just based on the feeling, just because we're caught in our feelings. Now, looking at all of that and keeping that in context, you have to understand that narcissists don't embrace, they don't adhere to any of that stuff that I just said to you. Now, they may appear and give that illusion because the only reason why they are abiding and adhering to all of those things, if they are, and for this sake of conversation, say that they are, only reason why they're adhering to those principles and those things is because they are copying other people. They're not doing it for the sole reason of their own conscience. They're not doing it for because they have good character and good moral conduct or moral standards. They're doing it because they have observed that this is what gets them over the hump or get them into this is what grants them admission to the things in life which puts them to the next level of manipulation and deceit. You and I, we will do things to graduate and be promoted in a good way. We work our way to the next level of life with integrity. And we feel proud that we worked our way there with a good conscience, with an honest conscience. And, we're not perfect people by any stretch of the imagination, but we do have a thing called conscience that guides us and causes us to make the decisions for the right reasons. That's the difference in you and I and the narcissist. They do the right thing for the wrong reasons. They do all the right things for the wrong reasons. What they do that seems right is all for sordid gain. It's all for premeditated tactics and takedown. And so when this debt is collected, sad but true, the narcissist is not going to be able to pay up. They will have to pay something. They will have to pay something. They chose to be in debt in the way that they are, just like the debts that I have chose, financial debts I've chose. There's a spiritual debt that narcissists have accrued it, and they did it deliberately. You and I, we go through life, we make choices, we decide on things based on a couple of factors. peer pressure. Much like a narcissist, we have made choices. And oftentimes our choices are made in our mind in good faith, but we have been deceived by other people into believing that these choices, listening to them, would serve us in a good way, in a beautiful way. And we find out that a lot of the things that we listened to other people and did cost us dearly. Again, that is the stark difference of you and I and the narcissist. They neglected long ago, from their adolescence, righteousness, to do things in the right way, to wait, to earn things in an honorable fashion. They adopted deceit and deception and manipulation into their arsenal. It began to feel good. They began to salivate, to look at other people squirm and suffer. And not even just that, as a child, I can imagine that they looked at the things in which they were able to achieve by lying and deceiving people, and to look at that person and see how they got over on them, and to see that that person is unaware of that. And then with a smirk or a smile, they think in their mind, look at that fool. They fell for that again. This is how the devil at the core operates. And what the devil did, it planted that seed in that narcissist's head. Willingly, the narcissist accepted that. Just as the story in that Bible goes, Adam and Eve were giving a certain amount of principles and standards and rules and regulations, whatever you want to call them. They were given so much openly to appreciate and utilize. And they were also given instruction against certain things. And it wasn't because I believe God was trying to deprive them. He was, I believe, was trying to give them the ability to know everything about God's business. He didn't withhold anything from them. Even when he said, this is the tree of good and evil, or whatever that story was, it was basically going to know in certain terms, this is off limits. I give you all of this. Take advantage of it, utilize it, have the joyous time of your life. But then there was an element that came in, and the element of that deceit, and just call the devil deceit, then deceit crept in. And it was a voice. The voice told them, have you considered this? Just like the devil told God, have you considered? And so when we look at this, this is something that's repetitive in life. Whether you embrace Bible or not, you've been abused by a narcissist. If you can apply your experience with that narcissist and then go read the Bible in certain contexts where, in certain areas where it talks about how deceit and how deception and manipulation worked. And tell me, won't you come away with a parallel understanding of it was the same beginning and it had the same outcome. And so going back to point, to be given a set of rules, laws, or boundaries, if you will, that causes us to order our steps for our own good is what God was doing. He did that for their good and their benefit. And then a voice comes along and it causes them to entertain other options. So their trust that was in God began to question. After they were questioned, they began to question the validity of the rules and the boundaries they were given. And so now there's another element that I have to contend with called disbelief. And so now I've been entertaining disbelief in what I've been told. Now the consequences are not even consequences. I just do that third option. And so the narcissist adopted that third option. And what it did, it began to deaden their conscience. It began to deaden their conscience. And then once their conscience became deadened, they didn't even care about consequence, because it took the boundaries away. And they were on a free fall. And so the consequences and the debt that the narcissist will have to pay is it is a debt that I don't believe they can bring back to zero. You and I, we have the ability, or we have the opportunity to be in good standings with God, be in good standings with ourself, our conscience. Narcissists can't not sit with their own conscience, because to sit with their own conscience, they would come to a point of realizing that what they have done all their life, even though they were under the illusion it was serving them, it was causing them a lot of uproar. They were in a relationship, out of relationship. They were starting from square one all over again. But the thing is, narcissists really never, ever really feel the failures in life and having to start over like you and I do. But I'll tell you this to end this video. When you, the empath, escaped, got away, awakened, nothing that they've ever experienced compares to losing you. That was one, if not the only and the very first time that they have felt loss, and they have really felt consequence. You, the empath, the chosen one that awakened, you gave them a preview of things to come. If this consequence that they are dealing with right now as a result of you leaving and you disappearing and getting out and awakening, you can only imagine. You can only imagine what awaits. That's not so much a comforting thing for us, but it's something just to be aware that it's not our fight. You're awakened. The only fight that you need to fight is to fight for your life of living the life that God gave you, and try to live it in the way that God wants you to live it. So those are the focuses that we pretty much should be focusing on. But at the same time, the awareness that we're bringing here, quite naturally, continue. But in the meantime, continue to level up, vibrate high, educate, and get yourself in a place where you can help others. That being said, bless.